let's explore autistic history and the Autism Wars. This is part, guess what? We're jumping out of order here. This is the introduction. It's taken me 111 videos, but I finally written one and shared it. And I have taken all the TikTok videos on the Autism Wars I have here and posted them to my YouTube channel. I love TikTok, but I find it hard to navigate, and so trying to find these videos in order for me is difficult. I can't imagine someone coming into this series who may be lost as well, but all the videos are available now on my YouTube channel at International Badass Activist on YouTube. I've also shared them on internationalbadassactivist.org. I put the YouTube channel right there on the front page with this introduction. You can click through and read along with this introduction if you like. And I will continue to post all these TikTok videos to the YouTube channel so they can be found and watched in order, perhaps more easily than on TikTok. Now I'm going to share with you that introduction I wrote for this series, and it is called The Autism Wars. It says here, this series takes a look at autistic history with an autistic perspective through the lens of the Autism Wars that began in the 60s with Bernard Rimland, Ivar Lovaas, parent advocates, and Bruno Bettelheim. The Autism Wars that started in the last century are still very much in effect today. Rimland was instrumental in breaking the horrible refrigerator mother's theory introduced by autism researcher Leo Kanner and later popularized by Bettelheim. Rimland was able to achieve this success by harnessing the power of parent advocates. Breaking this myth and stigma was a powerful and incredible autism community feat that would set the pattern for the Autism Wars going forward. Unfortunately, with Rimland, this is where the good halts for autistics and the autistic community. Halts. Alright, so autistics have been in a civil rights movement for decades now. Decades upon decades now. It has taken us generations of autistic activists to finally get heard here today in 2023. This isn't a new thing that just happens right now. This is autistic advocates, autistic activists standing on the shoulders of the autistic advocates, or being lifted up by the autistic advocates and activists and our real allies each generation before. My work is based on the support of the activists that came before me and so on. And so this younger generation being heard right now is astounding and it's wonderful, but it was decades upon decades of autistics advocating and fighting the harms of these organizations and legislations to get us here. This is not magic. It just didn't happen. There are so many autistic activists who lived and have died, never seeing the benefits of their work, knowing that they would never see the benefits of their work within their lifetime. Some of us hope that we'll see it within our children's lifetimes. I have since abandoned that hope, and my hope is now for the newer generations, maybe Generation Z, but definitely Generation Alpha, maybe. This will be the last generation that is being flown under this blue banner of normalcy as the goal for us. But anyhow, all right, so autistics have been in a civil rights movement for decades now to fight the misinformation, in big part to fight the misinformation and goals of parent-founded autism organizations and autism health-related businesses. For most of this history, autistic voices have been silenced at every level, including legislation that affects our health care and our lives. While these organizations lobbied for all autistics, they simultaneously fought to keep autistics from being heard and included in a meaningful manner. This series here is created from an archive of public and personal material. Many of the documents and articles being shared in this series can be found on internationalbadassactivist.org or the Internet Archives on the Wayback Machine. Now, autistic people, we are worthy of actual and appropriate autistic healthcare, quality of life supports, accommodations, and equity over our lifespans. Decades of autism awareness campaigns and autism community advocacy goals have not improved expected outcomes for autistic adults. Autistics are still dying early deaths at an epidemic rate. We are still experiencing severe rates of homelessness, filicide, murder, abuse, incarceration as care, stigma, and lack of access to appropriate medical care and supports. Throughout our lifetimes, autistic children become autistic adults. Ooh. Unless we can find a way to create a brighter future together for these kids, their future is grim. Grim. So this new generation of autistics will be attempting to survive the very same conditions and early death rates autistic adults are battling today, right this very moment. So many parents ask what will happen to their children when they die. Well, the reality of that is already in existence. Just take a look at the statistics for the autistic adult population. You don't have to wonder. The truth is here. It's fucking abysmal. So, the other reality is even harsher and awful. The reality that parents are very likely to outlive their autistic child by years, if not decades. So for me, the better question is, how do we help? How do we help our autistic child to live a full and complete life? How do we get systems of care? How do we get systems of care and support created that actually benefit their health and wellness? How do we help ensure autistics have a voice, access to safe spaces, appropriate medical care, appropriate accommodations, housing, employment support, and overall a better quality of life for their lifespan? You know, these are questions that still need answers, right? So how do we go about that? And here's another question. Have you thought about this before? How much did the search for a cure for autism cost autistics? How much did autistic people have to pay for this search for a cure or for normalcy that was led for others by us, or led for others for us? Well, for many of us, the harsh truth is it cost us our life. We died an early death, so many of us. While others searched for the cure, autistics were dying, and they're still dying. For many of us, this price of the cure is an early death. This is the cost, the real cost, the reality of it. So our early death rates are astronomical. So let's learn from history. So we can learn from history in this series and do better together going forward. So all autistic children can have hope for their futures too. However we are.